The second-generation Toyota RAV4, produced in 2000 to 2005, is now one of the most expensive representatives of its class in the secondary market. Toyota RAV4 took all the best from its predecessor, which was the founder of the crossover class. Namely, the all-wheel drive brought to perfection with the symmetrical central differential, where a Visco clutch of its blocking was added, which is triggered when one of the axles slips. However, we will not go into technical details, because we are primarily interested in this model in terms of reliability and operating costs, so let's get started. If you open the internet sites of fans of this model, you will see that two main topics are hotly discussed on the forums. The first, help, what to do, the check engine caught fire again, and the second, something happened to the automatic transmission. A burning check can indicate a variety of problems, but, as a rule, the main ones are contamination of the airflow meter, failure of one of the individual ignition coils, failure of the oxygen sensor, or refueling with the engine running. Yes, it's not worth opening the gas tank without turning off the engine, unless, of course, you don't want to go to the service later and extinguish the unnerving inscription. An automatic gearbox is a potential Trojan horse for a crossover of any brand, and a mileage of under 200,000 kilometers is a milestone when no one will give a forecast of how much the box has left to live. As for the automatic RAV4 specifically, its filling does not raise questions in terms of technical solutions and workmanship, and all problems come from the electronic control unit. Apparently, from anti-icing reagents and dirt, the brains of the box are slowly wedged, and the automatic transmission starts to switch sharply and with shocks, freezes in some gear. All this leads to its destruction. A new control unit can be bought for 22,000 rubles, although the Kulibans offer to repair it, but we will leave this without comment. And, of course, it must be borne in mind that off-road driving is not useful for a machine in position D. However, for this model as a whole, off-road is not the intended use at all. Figuratively speaking, most of the resource remains there, in the mud. Officially, Russian cars were equipped with a single 1AZ FE 2.0L, 150 horsepower, engine. For other regions, petrol 1ZZ FE 1.8L, 125 horsepower, and turbo diesel 1CD FTV 2.0L, 116 horsepower, were offered. In the US, the 2AZ FE 2.4L, 163 horsepower, was available, and in Japan, the 1AZ FSE 2.0L, 152 horsepower, with D4 direct fuel injection was available. As you can see, the RAV4 cannot boast of powerful engines, but even with the base 2-liter engine, where variable valve timing is used, the accelerating dynamics is by no means pensioners. The engines are resourceful and trouble-free, unless, of course, all car maintenance is reduced only to replacing fuel. And even horror stories about the injection D4 remain fairy tales, if you don't refuel at dubious gas stations and don't forget about the existence of a fuel filter. But if you are not lucky, then, as a rule, everything is decided by replacing the high-pressure pump at a cost of 16,000 rubles. Of the engine units, perhaps the pump was included in the list of spare parts that they try to keep in stock in stores. Not all instances can boast of all-wheel drive, well, except for those that were sold through our dealer channels. The rest of the imported RAVs may well be front-wheel drive cars. So it is highly desirable to make sure that the cardan is present. A limited slip differential can be installed in the rear gearbox, a nice but tiny bonus to the already excellent handling and predictability on slippery roads. In an all-wheel drive transmission, components and assemblies are very reliable and durable, and all its maintenance consists in updating the oil every 40,000 kilometers. But operation with current oil seals can easily repaint this rosy picture in dark colors. More often than others, the oil seal of the left front drive and the oil seal of the transfer case on the flange flow. In addition, the wear of the rubber is manifested by cracks on the covers of the drives. A manual gearbox is not uncommon. There are no complaints about it, well, except for an expensive clutch replacement. The fact is that due to the dense arrangement of the units, this process is very complicated. If vibrations and twitches occur at the start, it is possible that the matter is also in the flywheel, 21,000 rubles, and then it makes sense to change it along with the clutch. A purely Russian trouble is noted in the brake system, namely, soured calipers, because they were not cleaned of dirt and were not lubricated. Behavioral, beating when breaking original discs are a very rare occurrence. The front suspension is the usual McPherson. The rear is also a fairly simple scheme, not overcomplicated with various levers and rods. On our roads up to 120 to 150,000 kilometers, only the struts and bushings of the front stabilizer, as well as shock absorbers, will have to be replaced. Compared to competitors, these are fantastic figures. But everything ends sooner or later, and closer to 200,000, it will be the turn of spending on front levers, ball joints, rear longitudinal and transverse rods. In steering, the rack is like a steadfast tin soldier. It works for itself and works. It does not flow for a very long time, although it can tap a little. Steering tips and traction when driving and on broken roads can withstand more than 100,000 kilometers. Two body troubles are known. The first is the rear door sagging under the weight of the spare tire. It is treated by adjustment, in severe cases, by replacing the loops. The second is the spare wheel cover, and it itself often becomes the prey of thieves. So we got to the answer to the question of why the RAV4 is so highly valued in the secondary market. It doesn't fail, it's not difficult to maintain. The price for spare parts is quite affordable, and if necessary, quickly finds a new owner. But nothing lasts forever under the moon, and buying a copy, which will have to invest a lot of money and time, is real. After all, it is not without reason that the service interval for Russia is only 10,000 kilometers. It is a pity that after the end of the warranty period, many owners forget about it.